Hello friends, Steve Stockton here with you. Welcome to our latest episode. In this video, we bring you mysteries and disappearances linked to Death Valley National Park. Located in eastern California, Death Valley National Park borders the Great Basin and northern Mojave Deserts. Despite the extreme heat, the park remains popular, attracting approximately 1 million visitors annually. The valley earned its ominous name due to its numerous fatalities, adding to its eerie reputation. Despite the dangers, Death Valley's allure and mystery continues to captivate people, making it a place of fascination and peril. In addition to its stunning natural beauty, the area is surrounded by intriguing tales of ghostly encounters and forgotten civilizations. In this episode, we'll explore notable mysteries and disappearances linked to Death Valley National Park. Join me. Let's walk and see. Although Death Valley is majestic, the rugged environment has resulted in many fatalities. Its immense size, towering mountains, and unique landscape make it an intriguing destination, and it serves as a reminder of the power and unpredictability of nature. Death Valley lies 282 feet below sea level and has an extreme and lonely landscape showcasing evidence of ancient volcanoes. During the summer, temperatures can easily rise to a scorching 120 degrees Fahrenheit. In 1913, the region set a record high temperature of 134 degrees Fahrenheit. Additionally, sudden flooding can occur on the valley floor during mountain storms. In January 1848, the discovery of precious metal at Sutter's Mill marked a significant milestone in world history. The pursuit of gold led to advancements in communication and transportation technology, contributing to the growth and influence of the American and British empires. The Lost 49ers, a group of pioneers who journeyed west during the California Gold Rush, coined the name Death Valley. The discovery of gold in the Sierra Nevada foothills by James Marshall in the late 1840s sparked the rush. To avoid the tragic fate of the Donner Party, who met their demise crossing the Sierra Nevada mountains, the 49ers organized 107 covered wagons in Salt Lake City during the fall of 1849, and Jefferson Hunt was hired as a scout to guide them down the safer Old Spanish Trail. Early on, Hunt made mistakes that caused the group to lose confidence in him. Consequently, only 7 wagons remained with Hunt, while the others opted for a more straightforward path using a map. However, this decision was fatal, as they mistakenly passed through Death Valley, North America's driest and hottest region. They had to camp in the valley and survive on meager supplies of melted snow and small puddles they were fortunate enough to encounter during a passing storm. When a group of pioneers became stranded in Death Valley, they sent scouts William Manley and John Rogers to find help. After a month of searching, the scouts returned with supplies, 3 horses, and a one-eyed mule. The pioneers escaped the valley using a map given to them by Mexican villagers. As they reached the top of the mountain, one of them said, "Goodbye, Death Valley," in a bitter tone. That name has remained the same ever since. Now let's look at the sailing stones of Death Valley. In Death Valley, there's a fascinating occurrence called the sailing stones. These stones, found in racetrack playa near the California border, come in different sizes, ranging from a few ounces to several hundred pounds. Something interesting about them is that they move by themselves without the influence of gravity. Although no one has ever seen the stones move, their changing positions and the paths they leave behind confirm that they do indeed move. The rocks that make up the trails are made of dolomite and syenite, which have the same composition as the surrounding mountains. The rocks break off due to erosion and roll onto the dry ground below, leaving trails as long as 1,500 feet. Scientists have noted that rocks with rough bottoms move in a straight line, while those with smooth bottoms tend to move in a meandering pattern. The phenomenon of sailing stones has been studied since the early 1900s, and various theories have been proposed to explain their mysterious movement. The sand dunes in Death Valley may be small, but they offer some of the most impressive views in the park. The Eureka sand dunes, which rise over 680 feet, are stunning. At the top of the dunes, you can witness a unique occurrence found only in the desert: singing sand. As sand flows down the steep slopes, it produces a sound similar to a pipe organ or distant airplane hum. While the exact cause is unknown, it is believed to result from friction between sand particles. This phenomenon is rare and can only be experienced at a few locations globally. Next, there may be an ancient subterranean city of giants underneath Death Valley. There's a captivating story among the Paiute Indians in Death Valley about an underground world called Shin-Av-Ah. According to the legend, a Paiute chief lost his wife and went on a journey to find her in the realm of the dead. After overcoming many obstacles, he arrived at a spacious natural amphitheater where he was reunited with his beloved. Unfortunately, their story ends tragically, similar to the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, and he loses her once again. There are rumors about an underground cave and catacomb system found beneath Death Valley, which is believed to have been built by an ancient civilization. In the 1920s, a trapper named White stumbled upon underground rooms and tunnels while exploring an old mine. He discovered several human mummies dressed in leather and surrounded by precious items. A Paiute trapper and guide, Tom Wilson, shared a story about his grandfather's discovery, similar to White's. Despite their efforts, they were still searching for the caves. In 1932, Bork Lee wrote Death Valley Men, telling the story of Jack and Bill, who accidentally stumbled upon the tunnels. They had fallen through an abandoned mine shaft and found mummies and treasures like others before them. There have been reports of individuals who've discovered tunnels in Death Valley but could not locate them again and went missing. In 1947, Howard E. Hill shared an intriguing story about Dr. F. Bruce Russell, a retired physician from Cincinnati, Ohio, at the Los Angeles Transportation Club. While conducting archaeological excavations in Mexico a few years prior, Dr. Russell accidentally discovered a complex network of tunnels buried beneath Death Valley with his colleague, Dr. Daniel S. Bovee. It has been reported that Russell relocated to the western region to improve his health and explore potential mining opportunities. Regrettably, while excavating a shaft for his mining venture, he fell into a cave due to soil collapse. Surprisingly, he discovered a maze of tunnels that led in various directions. Russell and Bovee discovered the well-preserved remains of three giants standing at a height of 8 to 9 feet in a cavern. The giants were adorned in what appeared to be a gray-dyed sheepskin-like material of unknown origin. The room was decorated with artifacts resembling Egyptian and Native American designs, and the walls were made of polished granite with hieroglyphics etched into them. During their exploration, the adventurers came across what they believed to be the burial site of the tribal chiefs. Further investigation led them to stumble upon an ancient ritual hall where they discovered numerous artifacts, markings, and well-preserved remains of extinct animals such as dinosaurs, elephants, and tigers. Later analysis determined that these bones likely belonged to prehistoric creatures such as saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths. Russell reportedly told Hill that what they had found was only the beginning. They uncovered evidence of 32 tunnels across 180 square miles in Death Valley and parts of southern Nevada. Despite this, their claims were met with skepticism from professional archaeologists due to the significant time gap between the existence of dinosaurs and saber-toothed tigers. As a result, the scientific community showed little interest in pursuing the matter. However, Dr. Russell and a team of investors established Amazing Explorations Incorporated to manage the disclosure and financial opportunities linked to the discovery. Strangely, Russell disappeared while trying to find a location to show his friends in the desert. Despite months of searching, no leads were found until his car was located in a remote area of Death Valley. Although the car's radiator was damaged, his suitcase was found. Additionally, Dr. Bovee, who was also involved in the case, also vanished, making the situation even more perplexing. And now, the Manson family hid out in Death Valley. Barker Ranch, situated in the park, is associated with Charles Manson and his group, known collectively as the Family. Manson chose the location due to its remote and difficult-to-access nature. Despite the rough roads, Manson and his followers reached the ranch using a school bus. They occupied the farm in 1968, and it was there that Manson planned the infamous Tate LaBianca murders before being arrested in 1969. During the arrest, a police officer noticed Manson's hair sticking out from under a sink cabinet in the bathroom. There have been rumors for years about additional potential victims, including hitchhikers and individuals who visited the farm and vanished without any explanation. One of the girls living at the ranch did not get along with Manson, and one day he took her for a walk, and she was never seen again. While no other bodies associated with him have ever been found in the area, they may be buried somewhere in the park. Did you know that wrong GPS directions have gotten people killed in Death Valley? While technology has come a long way, it's essential to remember that there are more dependable options than relying solely on GPS. We've all experienced the frustration of losing GPS signal, especially when navigating unfamiliar areas. However, GPS devices can be highly unreliable and hazardous when driving through Death Valley, potentially threatening safety. GPS systems in the park can be unreliable due to poor cell reception, leading people onto dangerous and non-existent roads. This can result in individuals stranded in extreme heat without cell phone coverage or passing vehicles. Tragically, in 2009, a woman and her 6-year-old child were lost in the desert and were not found in time, sadly resulting in the child's passing away. And now here's some other strange deaths and disappearances. Death Valley's environment is extremely hostile and dangerous, resembling the surface of a deserted, hot planet. Nevertheless, it has drawn many visitors fascinated by its barren and sun-soaked scenery, or the simply curious. However, while many visit the area to explore, some never return. Death Valley has gained a reputation for being a foreboding and hazardous place, notorious for unexplained disappearances and deaths. In 1958, First Lieutenant Paul Byron Whipke, a young Army pilot, went missing from Fort Ord, California, under mysterious circumstances. He had informed his fellow officers that he would get a drink nearby, but was found hundreds of miles away in Mojave, California, where he checked into a hotel without apparent reason. Why he went to Mojave and how he got there is still unknown. The next day, he reportedly bought 14 gallons of gasoline and then vanished off the face of the earth. The only clue would come 5 weeks later, when California Fish and Game officers found Whipke's abandoned vehicle in a remote, forbidding region of Death Valley, 15 miles away from the main road, and 400 miles from where he had begun his strange journey in Fort Ord. Whipke's dog tags, suitcase, and other personal belongings were found within, but there was no sign of where he had gone. The Army claimed he had deserted and died after wandering in the desert. However, there's no solid evidence to support this claim. The soldier's brother, Carl Whipke, was suspicious of the Army's explanation and their quick actions, such as packing up the soldier's belongings the day after he disappeared. Carl expressed his concerns about the situation. Whipke's family suspects there may be more to the story, including a possible cover-up. This suspicion is supported by the fact that when Carl Whipke sought information from the FBI through the Freedom of Information Act, he was informed that all files had been destroyed in 1977 for unknown reasons. Carl expressed frustration with the unresolved case, stating that he would be satisfied if the Army said they could not disclose the information for security reasons. However, until then, the family cannot rule out any possibilities. Before his disappearance, Whipke developed black moles and warts all over his body without apparent reason. He also frequently felt unwell and displayed changes in his personality, appearing anxious and tense. It was later discovered that his teeth were removed and replaced with dentures. Some believe he may have been a covert agent who found classified information and was silenced. Alternatively, some speculate that he may have been a nerve gas or atomic testing victim and was disposed of secretly. Lastly, some think that extraterrestrial beings abducted him. However, the reason for Whipke's disappearance still needs to be discovered, as no evidence of him has been found, and all records linked to the case need to be included. Barry Behrman, 36, and his wife Louise, 52, vanished in January 1986 in Saline Valley, a 12-mile-long passage between the White Mountains and the border of Death Valley National Monument. Their remains were discovered in an area approximately 40 miles east of Lone Pine in Inyo County. While the remains did not display any apparent signs of violence, Sheriff's Lieutenant Jack Goodrich believes foul play was involved. And then, in July 1996, 4 tourists from Dresden, Germany visited Death Valley to enjoy its scenic views. The group included Cornelia Meyer, 27, her 4-year-old son Max, her boyfriend Egbert Remkus, 34, and his 10-year-old son George Weber. They rented a Plymouth van and explored Las Vegas and its surroundings. However, they arrived during a heat wave with temperatures reaching 120 degrees Fahrenheit, which posed potential danger. Despite the extreme conditions, they set out from their Las Vegas hotel on July 22nd, stopping at a visitor center to buy a map and a book before starting their journey. Unfortunately, the group has not been seen or heard from since. On July 29th, the family missed their flight back home. During the investigation, authorities discovered a strange entry in a guest book on a metal pole at an abandoned mining ghost town in Warm Springs Canyon. The entry, written in German and signed Connie, Egbert, George, Max, read, "We're going through the pass." Although it was unclear which pass they meant, authorities speculated it was Mingle Pass. This remote, poorly maintained dirt road passes through a barren, lifeless moonscape on the park's southwestern border. On October 23rd, several months after the family disappeared, only a slight trace of them was discovered. A drug surveillance plane located an abandoned minivan in a remote sandy ravine far from tourist routes. The van's doors were locked and covered with dust. Upon investigation, items such as photo film, empty water bottles, sleeping bags, an information booklet, and an American flag that seemed to have been purchased as souvenirs were found inside. Strangely, no personal belongings like wallets, passports, keys, or purses were discovered, and there was no sign of the group's tracks near the van. It appears as if they vanished without a trace. Although a beer bottle was found nearby, it's uncertain if it belonged to the missing group. Following a puzzling discovery, a thorough search was conducted by over 200 law enforcement officers from Nevada and California on foot, horseback, and air. However, no further evidence was found regarding the disappearance of the tourists. The case has remained a mystery for years, with different theories about their fate. Some speculate that dangerous drug dealers may have kidnapped or killed them. In contrast, others believe they may have been willingly vanished or unknowingly perished due to harsh environmental conditions. However, none of these theories have been substantiated, and no trace or clues about the missing individuals have been found. During their hike in 2009 through a dangerous and barren area of Mojave Desert Park, two hikers stumbled upon a disturbing scene of human bones tangled in the sand and vegetation. The discovered remains, belonging to an adult male and female, were suspected to be those of the missing tourist, mainly as Cornelia Myers' identification was allegedly found nearby. However, the bones were too deteriorated by the sun for successful DNA analysis, and it remains uncertain whether they belong to the missing individuals. The fate of the disappeared children remains unknown, making this a perplexing case still discussed today. In 1998, 5 women in a cult led by Carlos Castaneda were reported missing in Los Angeles. Castaneda was a famous writer who had unconventional beliefs about Native American knowledge. He was well known for his best-selling books and his tendency to keep to himself in the 1970s and 1980s. In 1973, he established the Tensegrity movement, based on shamanic secrets, and became immensely popular, leading to various workshops, seminars, and educational videos. One unique aspect of this movement was a group of secretive women known as, quote, the witches, end quote, that Castaneda kept close to him. The witches, in Castaneda's mystique, were shrouded in mystery, used aliases, and avoided photography. They practiced shamanic mysticism, including vision quests and communicating with animals, and often used peyote in their rituals. Little was known about their purpose or numbers. Castaneda died of liver cancer in 1998, and 5 witches, Florinda Donner Grau, Tashia Abelar, Amelia Marquez, Kylie Lundhall, and Patricia Lee Parton, completely vanished. The only clue found at the time was Parton's vehicle, which had been abandoned at Death Valley's Panamint Dunes. In 2003, hikers found a desiccated corpse half buried in the sand, wearing shredded clothes. When the remains were finally adequately analyzed, they were found to be those of Patricia Lee Parton, although the cause of death nor why she'd been out in such a remote area of Death Valley could not be determined. None of the remains of the other women have ever been found, and it's proposed that they took their own lives. Some of Castaneda's witches were allegedly tasked with finding locations in Death Valley, such as caves and abandoned mines, that could be used as suitable sites. One of these sites was located near where Parton was found. So, did all these women check out in the wastelands of Death Valley, or are the others still alive, as some believe? There are no answers, and it remains a mystery. Then, in July of 2013, Ryan Singleton, a 24-year-old former model and aspiring actor from Atlanta, Georgia, went on a short vacation to Los Angeles. During his trip, he rented a car and drove to Las Vegas. On July 9th, Ryan left Las Vegas to return to Los Angeles, but his car broke down near the small town of Baker in the harsh Mojave Desert. He abandoned his car and walked towards the town, where he was allegedly picked up by a highway patrolman who gave him a ride. Once in town, Ryan called his friend from a gas station and waited for a ride. However, When his friend arrived, Ryan was nowhere to be found. Despite immediate efforts to locate him, Ryan remained missing and was not found until 74 days later, when his body was discovered in the desert only 2 miles from the gas station. Interestingly, the area where the body was found had already been thoroughly searched. Authorities were perplexed when it was discovered that the body was missing most of its internal organs, which they attributed to scavenger activity, despite the rest of the body being relatively intact. The cause of death remained unknown, and authorities were slow to provide additional information, leaving Ryan's family in the dark about the circumstances surrounding his death. There's been widespread speculation that Ryan was the victim of foul play. The missing organs from his body have raised suspicions about the official explanation of scavenger activity. Some have suggested that illegal organ trafficking or the actions of a sadistic serial killer may be responsible for those missing organs. However, the proper explanation for this bizarre detail and the overall circumstances surrounding Ryan's death remain unexplained. The case remains unclear, with numerous unanswered questions and a general lack of clarity. Why would he wander away from the safety of the gas station when he knew his friend was on his way to pick him up? And how could he have gotten lost and died just 2 miles away? If nefarious individuals targeted him, then what was their motive? And what about those missing organs? Was that done intentionally? Or was it the work of scavengers, as authorities seem to think, or at least want us to believe? What happened to Ryan Singleton will likely continue to be another mystery of Death Valley. On December 20th, 2020, San Francisco resident Donald Vanneman III was found dead in a source pool. Source pools provide water to the other pools in the community kitchen and are not for bathing. To some, they are considered sacred. Donald's cause of death was never revealed. Vanneman was not the first to perish at Saline Valley Warm Springs. In 1988, the skeletal remains of a missing Goleta couple were found in a shallow grave near the site. Not surprisingly, Death Valley has its share of ghosts and hauntings. Located in the sparsely populated Death Valley Junction, the Armagosa Hotel and Opera House was renovated in 1967 by ballet dancer, mime, artist, and actress Marta Beckett. Before that, it was a small hotel for the Pacific Coast Borax Company between its construction in 1923 and relocation in 1927. Several ghosts have been reported here. The theater is allegedly haunted by the spirit of Beckett's former partner, Tom Willett, who can sometimes be witnessed watching the performances. Rooms 24, 32, and 9 are all reported to be haunted, with the most activity occurring in room 9. Guests in that room say an evil entity held their feet down while they were sleeping. Other reports involve laughing children, crying babies, and noises in the hall when no one is there. On April 19, 1908, Joseph L. Simpson ambushed and shot James Arnold, a local businessman, in broad daylight. Simpson was portrayed by many as a scoundrel and an alcoholic. But what makes Simpson's story unique is the fact that he was the last person to be lynched in the state of California. 3 days after the crime, Simpson was hanged by a telephone pole in the Death Valley camp of Skidoo. Legend says he was buried, but exhumed a few days later when LA Times reporters showed up for photos. And maybe haunted or not, there are ghost towns. Death Valley is home to several abandoned mining towns known as ghost towns, including Ballarat, Chloride City, Panamint City, Rhyolite, and Pioneer. Ballarat was once a bustling place with 3 hotels, a school, and 7 saloons, but now it's a ghost town watched over by a single man and his dog. The town had been abandoned for some time, and in the 1960s, the family of Charles Manson stayed at the Barker Ranch south of town. The old town is still worth exploring, with old mining equipment in the flats. Chloride City, an abandoned mining town in the Funeral Mountains on the eastern edge of Death Valley, is said to be haunted by the spirits of miners who died during its heyday in the early 20th century. Visitors reported hearing noises and seeing ghostly apparitions in the area. Panamint City, on the western edge of Death Valley, was a thriving community in the 1870s and is home to numerous legends of lost gold mines, hidden treasures, and ghostly encounters. Several thousand people lived in this small settlement, lured by the promise of easy money and adventure. Panamint was the site of a silver mining boomtown in the 1870s. The town was run by outlaws and it eventually flooded, destroying everything. The road to town was only accessible to dedicated 4x4s until the late 1980s. You can explore the remains of the abandoned mine while hiking through a scenic 7.5-mile trail. The hike is strenuous and requires extraordinary endurance, but the views are worth it. The town of Rhyolite was established in 1904 by entrepreneur Charles M. Schwab. By 1906, the town had water and electricity and an estimated population of 5,000 to 10,000 people during its heyday between 1905 and 1911. Also known as the Queen City, it had 2 churches, 50 saloons, 18 stores, 2 undertakers, 19 lodging houses, 8 doctors, 2 dentists, a stock exchange, and an opera house. The history, numerous ruins, and proximity to the freeway make this one of the best ghost towns in Death Valley to visit. The town of Pioneer was established in 1908 to assist workers in mining activities in the neighboring gold mines. The population was capped at around 2,500 until a fire decimated nearly all the town's buildings. By 1931, Pioneer officially closed its post office, sealing its fate as a ghost town. Pioneer is one of the smallest ghost towns in Death Valley and is better suited for camping or longer hikes. While not much is left, a few remnants of the mine and stone ruins exist. Know before you go. Whether hiking, backpacking, or driving, you must be self-sufficient and well prepared. You are ultimately responsible for your own safety. Remember to follow the 7 principles of Leave No Trace. These include planning, staying on designated trails, packing out all your trash, disposing of waste properly, leaving the area as you found it or better, minimizing campfire impact, being considerate of other hikers, and avoiding contact with wildlife. Inspecting your vehicle thoroughly beforehand is crucial to prevent any breakdowns in the heat while driving in Death Valley. Using a high-clearance vehicle with heavy-duty tires and 4-wheel drive is highly recommended. Stick to designated routes and steer clear of unpaved roads with jagged rocks. Remember to follow speed limits, wear your seatbelt, and if your vehicle breaks down, stay with it until help arrives. When hiking, it is essential to stay hydrated and safe. Bring extra water with you and avoid hot temperatures and icy conditions. If you or someone in your group feels dizzy, find some shade and drink plenty of water. Keep an eye out for these symptoms in others. Additionally, protect yourself from the sun by wearing sunscreen, lightweight clothing, a hat, and adequate hiking boots to keep your feet safe. Keeping your hands and feet in sight is essential. During rainy weather, avoid canyons and be cautious of water on the road. Beware potential dangers from creatures in hidden areas. Never enter mine tunnels or shafts, as they can be unstable and can also contain pockets of poisonous gas. Additionally, it's crucial to refrain from touching mine tailings, as they often have high concentrations of toxic metals and chemicals. If you're traveling alone, it's safer to avoid remote areas. If you want to explore the park's outer regions, traveling with a companion or companions is far better than going it solo. While it may seem appealing to venture into far-off locations, there may be more suitable choices. If you need help, waiting a long time can be risky, especially when it's hot and temperatures are in the double digits. It's important to note that some parts of the park may not have cell phone receptions, except for Furnace Creek, which has a visitor center, hotels, and a gas station. It's advisable to have a radio for emergencies and a backup emergency plan. It's also recommended to bring a GPS device and personal locator beacon. Consider taking a guided tour. This way you can avoid getting lost or stranded and not worry about making hotel reservations or spending excessive time on the road. In closing, Death Valley is renowned for its challenging landscape, intriguing history, and haunting tales that have led to unexplainable disappearances. Despite numerous attempts to solve these mysteries, the truth behind these incidents still eludes us. Some link these unexplained events to curses, while others attribute them to the supernatural. One thing is for sure, however, Death Valley is shrouded in mystery and danger. Anyone who ventures into its vast and desolate terrain does so at their own risk, never knowing if they too will become one of Death Valley's enigmas. Well, friends, there you have it. What do you think of the strange place that is Death Valley? I've been there myself. It's intriguing, beautiful, and highly dangerous. I look forward to your comments, but please keep it friendly and respectful. Until we meet again, be good to yourselves and each other. Stay safe out there. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'll talk to you next time. I'll see you a little further on down the trail. And be sure and tell your animals Steve says hi.